Hey guys, welcome to Heart to Talk, the podcast. I am the host and creator, Teresa Caesar. My intention for this podcast is to deliver to you wisdom, inspiration, and consciousness through solo episodes and conversations amongst insightful people. It is my greatest honor to bring to you talks that come from the heart. Amazing listeners, welcome to another powerful episode of Heart to Talk. If you are a pet owner and enthusiast, you're going to love this episode and today's guest. I have the honor and privilege of hosting a groundbreaking figure and true visionary in veterinary medicine, Dr. Randy Aronson. Dr. Aronson's innovative approach seamlessly blends Western medical practices with holistic modalities, making him a true pioneer in the field. For this episode, we will be discussing pet wellness and longevity, learning how we can enhance the quality of life of our cherished pets and pet parents. Get ready to be inspired with the amazing Dr. Randy Aronson.
Thanks, Teresa. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's always wonderful to talk, especially to listeners like yours, because they're so motivated to improve their life. And we do that through improving the health of pets. And it's an amazing symbiosis because our pets, are our family. And this has really evolved into such an exciting area for me, a real passion.
Can you introduce to the audience what it means to be an integrative vet and what sets you apart from a traditional vet?
Sure. So let me tell this with a side story if I could.
Yes.
I graduated from a very prestigious veterinary school back east, University of Pennsylvania, spent a year doing an internship, which is a lot of veterinarians don't do. Went to a place called the Animal Medical Center, which is the largest veterinary hospital in the world, spent a year there, and then came to Tucson. And I started my practice, and I found through practice that I was doing really well, and I had all the Western knowledge. But, there was something missing, Teresa, and it really came to me about 10 years into practice. It took that long. Some people, have to get hit over the head a few times. And what I found was that I wasn't really achieving wellness. I was putting out fires all the time. Medicine, surgery. And don't get me wrong, I was doing a really good job with it, but it just wasn't what I really expected my life to be. And so along comes Dr. Andrew Weil, who is a pioneer in human integrative medicine in Tucson. And I start reading his books, start finding out a lot about his background, which is very similar to mine. He came from Philadelphia and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I decided I was going to add Chinese herbs into my practice. So I went to Albuquerque, which was there were no veterinary programs at all. So this was a human program. And I found out when I got there that I couldn't just add herbs. I had to add the paradigm of Chinese medicine, which is completely different than Western medicine. So what integrative medicine basically is the best of all of Western medicine. So we do x-rays, we do ultrasound, we do surgery, we do all kinds of advanced things, but then adding many complementary therapies. So I do acupuncture, Chinese herbology, rehabilitation medicine. We have a full rehab setup where our pets can walk in water without the weight of their joints, laser, pulsed electromagnetic therapy, ozone therapy, prolozone, and it just goes on and on. But Teresa, what it has done is just expanded what I can offer my pet parents, but even better, improving the lives of the pets and then improving the parents' lives at the same time.
Wow, that is so inspiring. And thank you for sharing that backstory. So when you initially went into veterinary medicine, you weren't thinking you were going to go this path, but along the way, the path found you. And that's just so incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Can you tell us what your mission is?
So my mission after 43 years of being a veterinarian is to educate the public to understand that the body has an incredible ability to heal itself. You just have to give it the right tools. And that doesn't always mean a medicine after a medicine or surgery or all of the other Western modalities. Don't get me wrong. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. I mean, we use a lot of Western medicine, but the body, it just has occurred to me and it has evolved on a day-to-day basis. Every day I'm learning. And, even at my age, I'm still so jazzed and excited about what I'm doing and helping animals. But the mission is really to educate the public because veterinarians are very slow to grab this. And as you mentioned, when I was in vet school and when I was in practice, there were no integrative programs. There still are very few. There may be a club at a veterinary school, and I've spoken to a number of the veterinary schools, but there really still is no program. And so what I have been doing, what a lot of integrative veterinarians have been doing, is really getting the word out so people can understand they can affect the dog and cat's lives and really make a positive change.
That is so incredible. Let's talk more about the pet wellness and how you help improve their quality of life. And that in turn helps the pet parents, right? It goes
Sure.
hand in hand. Tell us about that.
So I have a mnemonic that I use in my talks and on my website, and it's called PETS. Very, very applicable.
Yeah.
And PETS stands for proper nutrition and microbiome, exercise, training and socialization, and stress reduction. And so these four monikers are basically the way that I can improve a pet parent, a pet's life by just using these things and really working on. Number one is really what we call foundational medicine. I get so many cases, Teresa, that come to me that are second and third opinions. They've done everything. And you know the definition of insanity. It's trying, the same thing and expecting a different result. And it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden we talk about, oh, let's look at your pet's diet. You're feeding too many carbohydrates in that diet. You're using all of this processed food. Just as a sidebar, people eat about 54% of their diet is processed food.
Mm.
Pets, it's at 89%. Because these kibbles are highly heat processed and air processed, and they really cause a lot of problems. So getting to the bottom line of that PETS moniker, I can really start to improve an animal's health just by working on what we call foundation.
I love that. And you think about listeners out there that you think it's January 1, everyone's on this diet. Well, think about bringing your pet along on the journey of a path to wellness. And it seems like that's what you offer. And I don't think a lot of
Absolutely.
people think of it that way. I mean, I think people are now waking up to that, wow, my diet is affecting my health. And I can't tell you, I feel like 9 times out of 10, everyone I talk to, their pet has some form of like cancer or overweight. It's just interesting. Do you see that rising?
Oh my
And
God. Yeah. I mean, the crude fact, again, that I use in a lot of my seminars and keynotes is that pets are living about 2/3 of their normal lifespan. That's what we're seeing. For example, the golden retriever, a very popular breed. I love these dogs. And their average lifespan when I first started was about 12 years. And now it's at 7. And
oh,
because they're so prone to cancer and they're so prone to the genetics of what they're getting, but as you mentioned, we affect this through what we call epigenetics. And what that means, very fancy word, but all it means is that what you eat, what you do as far as exercise, what you do as far as stress reduction, all affects your genes. And it can definitely improve their life. And in fact, one study there's called the Dog Aging Project, which I love. And they looked at 50,000 dogs. And they found that if they calorie restrict these dogs, and that doesn't mean starving them, it just means looking at the simple carbs that these dogs are eating, look at the junky commercial pet foods that they're eating, they can improve their lives and get an average of 2+ years longevity just by doing that.
wow, that is so incredible. What are 3 simple tips or action steps that listeners can do today to improve the quality of life of their pets and support longevity?
Yeah. So food is number one. Absolutely number one. If they look at this very closely, there's a food hierarchy. Fresh whole food is the top. Second down is basically raw. I use a lot of freeze-dried raw because I'm a little concerned about some raw products. And then the third down is complex carb dry foods. And then that doesn't mention any of the regular over-the-counter type diets. So food is number one. I would mention a great book that's out there called The Forever Dog, written by another integrative veterinarian who I love, Dr. Karen Becker. And it talks about the science of just what I'm telling you. And that is the proper ways of feeding and lowering carb loads and making sure that we're getting quality protein in our dogs. Exercise. So many animals, especially dogs and cats, people don't understand this. Your cat just shouldn't lay around all day in your house. There are laser pointers. There are cat toys. There are catnip things. There are things to keep your cat exercised. Spending 30 minutes exercising your cat would be phenomenal. And in
Wow.
dogs, a lot of our dogs get a walk a day or maybe 2 walks a day. Some big dogs require up to 8 miles of exercise a day. And so we're seeing all of these behavioral problems in dogs because they're basically bored. They want to have a job, they want to get some exercise. And so exercise. And then stress reduction, what I mentioned in there is really look at your surroundings. I mean, air fresheners, carpeting has formaldehyde in it. Our dogs are showing 30 times the amount of Roundup in their bodies at postmortem at veterinary schools because everybody sprays for weeds. The dogs go out and walk, they lick their paws, and boom, they've got Roundup in their system, glyphosate. So those are 3 things immediately you could do to change.
Wow. Thank you so much for those.
Sure.
So, how can we find you? We can, of course, connect with you, become a patient, bring our dog, or our dogs can be a patient, I should
Right.
say. But yes, how can this audience get in touch with you?
Yeah, my real passion around this, as you know, is we've just built a brand new website, and it's Dr. Randy, drrandypetvet.com. And now we are doing our own podcasts, which has been, as you know, is a real
Yes.
challenge to get to that world. And we're doing video and audio at the same time, which then makes it even more difficult sometimes. So definitely that website, my phone number's on there. I welcome questions, people that listen to this show if they have specific questions. I can't always answer all of them, but I try to get to them as much as possible. I mean, I get 100 emails a day. So
Oh,
it gets a
wow.
little bit overwhelmed, and I'm still working, which I really love because I'm still practicing my craft and learning every day more and more about what we're talking about and how to improve these lives. So the drrandypetvet.com is definitely the best place. There's a phone number in there also. And I'd welcome any feedback through your site or anything else. I'd be more than happy. I'm really looking to get out and speak. For example, Raytheon has had me to speak to some of their executives. And the reason why they did that is because I'm not a missile maker, but they want to know for their lifestyle, their workers' lifestyle and their employees' lifestyle, how can we improve that? And then this is the topic that really kind of hits home. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. And that's the easiest way to reach me.
That is so inspiring. I will drop all your information. Listeners, it'll be all in the show notes. It's so powerful in the office practicing, but to be able to expand your message and the awareness by the lectures and your podcast as well. Would you like to talk a little bit more about when someone tunes in or follows, subscribes, what can they expect to hear?
So the first episode is obviously what is it, integrative medicine, just like you and I discussed, but an expanded version of it. I had Dr. Brian Caban on, who is an integrative MD, and we talked about the similarities between veterinary medicine and human medicine. In fact, we often go out and talk together because we're doing the same things. Our companion animals live with us. They pick up our emotional problems. They pick up our stress. And, people like you are so helpful because you're working on the spirit and basically positive affirmations. These also transfer to our dogs and cats. People don't realize, but it definitely works. So those are really important things. I've had a world famous dog trainer on. I've had Dr. Andrew Weil is going to be on shortly. I have coming up next week Dr. Gary Richter, another integrated veterinarian who's in California. Groundbreaking. He has a couple wonderful books. I don't know about you, but I've been always told I really need to write, and I'm not a great writer. I'm definitely a vocal person. I'm auditory. And so looking at that a little bit, but he's going to be great. So those kinds of things are kind of what people can see. And then get a hold of me through there because I do telemedicine cases where I'll do conferences. I just conferred with a lady in Caracas, Venezuela. It's really exciting to be able to share these things, even if it has to be over the phone.
I love that you're so accessible on so many levels with the podcast. You're willing to go out and lecture. You're a dynamic speaker. I mean, just coming on, being a guest, you're just so natural and in flow. What a talent.
Thank you.
What a gift to this world and to our pets who we all love so much.
You're too kind, I'll tell you. Thank you.
Yeah. And so before we pivot to those ending questions that I am so excited to ask you, are there any other important mentions that we want to let this audience know that you feel should be shared?
I just want to reiterate the fact that we can affect the quality of our pet's life. And by doing so, we can live happier, healthier lives too. And it's really a doable thing. I used to think that this was not approachable, that this was not something we could accomplish. We can do this. That's what I want to leave your listeners with is we can really affect a change. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. You walk into a veterinary practice and, veterinarians like MDs, a lot of times they're numbers driven. They're double blind study driven, but our bodies and our animals' bodies don't listen to those numbers. We've beat the odds in so many different situations. So I want them to be very optimistic, even what the prognosis or the treatments are kind of bleak. Don't let that affect you. Keep positive.
I love that. And it's so true. I think we forget that they feel us, the vibration of us, our energies. And just like when I make a change, do something impactful, powerful, whether it's my diet, mindset, it does. And it influences, you become an influencer in just your immediate surroundings, your family, your workplace. You notice that a lot of times the pets reflect the owner.
Oh,
Is that kind of a thing?
Oh my God, so much. Even to the point where I see dogs or cats coming in with skin conditions that the owner has,
So
or
crazy.
GI conditions. I mean, so many GI imbalances. There's so much inflammatory bowel disease in people, what we call dysbiosis, all of these things that lead to like Crohn's disease and bowel cancer. I see pets, they have the same thing, and the owners come in. The hardest part, Teresa, like you're mentioning, is speaking to an owner who is overweight and talking about obesity in their pet, because that's a real thing for us. We see probably almost 60% of our dogs are overweight, and our cats probably approaching 40% of that.
Listeners, or share this episode with anyone that loves their pet. Sometimes it's going to take that for the individual to maybe change.
Absolutely.
And if that's going
Absolutely.
to get you there, great.
Yeah. Oh no, whatever it
Yeah.
takes as far as I'm concerned. You
Whatever
bet.
it takes.
You bet.
Oh, that's just you're amazing. I love it. All right. We're going to pivot into those ending
Sure.
questions, Dr.
Sure.
Aronson. So the first one, do you have a favorite affirmation or mantra that you use to stay motivated, empowered in all that you do?
Yes, definitely. So I would say that this actually came off of your list, believe it or not.
Woo!
So I love that. There are a lot of things that I kind of use, but this one really struck home to me today. And that is, I am committed to my goals, and that is why I am unstoppable. So many people told me that I can't do this, that it's going to be too expensive to have a website or to go out and to get hired and start to being a speaker. You really have to get known and you really have to have a lot of content. Well, there's only one way of doing that. And that's starting it. So yeah, I love that affirmation. And my mantra, I've been doing transcendental meditation for almost 50 years. So I have a mantra through that, and I use that a lot. That's how I focus on mantra, because that's what I do in my meditation.
Well, whatever you're doing is working, because you don't age.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I was like,
I wish
you're
true.
amazing. I'm like Benjamin Button, aging in reverse. So yeah, you know what you're talking about. You practice what you preach. That's for sure. And I think that is what sets you apart as well. Like you're out there, but you're the living example of what you.
Well, and it's, but and I have to tell you, it's people like you that help that. I mean, when just us knowing each other and the interaction and whatnot, we don't specifically have to mention how that happened, but
yes, we can.
We can. Our kids are going out together. It's really exciting to see the energy there and the respect that both our son and daughter have for each other.
I just honor this connection so much. I love it. And I love the affirmation you picked, because that's one of my favorites. So the next one is your favorite quote.
You're going to love this. This is probably one that you probably haven't heard somebody say before, but I like this quote. It is better to burn out than to fade away. And that was from Neil Young. He also says in that song, it is better to burn out than rust. And rusting takes a very long time for oxidation and whatnot. And so that's why I like to move full tilt. I don't really want to stop. I'm 71 years old. I'm happy that I am. I feel 50, quite honestly. And, people like yourself and my kids, my wife, keep me young. And this passion really keeps me going, because it just drives me every day.
Wow. Passion does bring out vitality, glow. Yeah, for sure. I love that quote. All right. And what is your favorite book?
So I don't get a chance to do a lot of reading for myself, because I'm always reading new things that come out in veterinary medicine, especially all the integrative stuff. I'm reading all of the integrative stuff that's in human medicine, because in some aspects, human medicine's very much ahead of us. And in a lot of aspects, veterinary medicine is actually ahead of human medicine. So my favorite book that just came out, honestly, is the book that I really refer to, and I show my clients this, is, I mentioned Dr. Karen Becker. There's a book called The Forever Dog. And if people want the science behind what you and I have been talking about, this Forever Dog book really sums it up very, very nicely. I mentioned that book because I think that's a great read for your listeners and very easy, and it's impressive.
Wow, thanks for that. And last question, what do you want to be known for?
Right. I would like to be known that I affected a change in people's lives by educating pet parents on how to improve the longevity and quality of their pets' lives. And by doing so, then they live happier, healthier lives. And then we are all in symbiosis at that point. We're all together.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please download, rate, subscribe, and share this podcast. Also, be sure to visit my website at teresacaesar.com to check out my inspirational merch, connect to my social accounts, and much more. May you continue to be filled with wisdom, inspiration, and consciousness. Otherwise, friends, I will be back in 2 weeks for another episode of Heart to Talk.